I'm Sarina Fazan, taking a risk, making a difference, and changing the course of your life. Remarkable stories from people defying the odds. You're listening to On the Record.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarina Fazan, a journalist, producer, and host of On the Record, and the lover of all things love. Thank you so much for joining me for my favorite episodes of this podcast, the Love in America series, where my guests share their love stories and give advice for lasting relationships. And I am thrilled to have here with me Andrew Warren, who, of course, is the state attorney in Hillsborough County, and his wife, Alex. Okay, I asked Andrew months and months and months ago to have you on, Alex. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is so exciting. Okay, I want to say first that you have such a warm and engaging personality.
Thanks.
And you're not used to being on camera.
No, I'm not.
much.
Is it that obvious?
No, I think she's fantastic.
She is. She's this way every morning throughout the day into the evening. So it's,
But watch it if you do something wrong.
yeah.
Okay, so how long have you guys been married?
Oh, this was the talking point I was supposed to remember.
Yes.
We just celebrated 14 years in August.
Congratulations. Okay,
Thank
August
you.
what?
August 6th.
August 6th.
Literally,
Okay.
it was like 6, I think.
14 years in August. Okay, that's being married.
Yeah.
Yes.
How about dating? And how long have you guys been together? Approximately.
Oh, that's
On
a tough
and
question.
We met when we were 18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex, tell me how you guys first met.
We met at college. We went to college together, and we lived in buildings that were like across a pond from each other. And we were both sitting at the pond, and and I don't know. That's where we met.
Okay, so what college was this? And it was not in Florida. I know you guys were in the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Right. We were at Brandeis, which is a small school outside Boston. And it was August of 1995. It was actually the first day that I had gotten on campus. And I had dropped my stuff off and met my roommate. And we were walking around and sitting down and meeting people. And Alex was probably one of the first 5 or 10 people that I met on campus.
And it only took 10 years for us to get married.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you though, when you guys first see each other across the pond, did you say?
Yeah, we were
like on the same side of the
Yeah.
pond. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Across the pond just sounds, that sounds so romantic,
Yeah, it
doesn't
does,
it?
right.
All right,
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So you guys see each other. Are you attracted to each other? Are you thinking, oh, she's a cute girl?
He
and
immediately ran over to me, and he's like, hello. No, we were, I don't know. What would you say? I'm sure. Yes. I mean, but we were friends first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such it's such a whirlwind of a time.
Mhm.
I mean, it was my first day on campus. And so you're meeting people, you're getting used to being away. We met, I think we just hit it off from the beginning as friends, and we were friends throughout college and dated off and on in college and off and on afterwards and just always came back. I mean, we've been very close friends probably since the day we met.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're not going to glaze over, oh, we dated, off and on through college, then off and on after. No, all right, so were you attracted to Andrew when you first saw him?
Yeah.
Were you like, I
Look
want,
at him.
yes, I know he is, I know, but look at you too. You both are adorable. So were you like, oh, okay. Were you the type of attracted where you were telling your girlfriends like, oh my gosh,
I have a joke. I do. I have a joke with my friend because Andrew befriended another guy named Andrew, and they thought it was so funny that they were both named Andrew. So they would walk around. He was really cool back then. They would walk around and be like, hey, we're Andrews. And
First of all, this was the 90s. That was very funny and clever at the time. So that joke hasn't aged well, but
we were, I remember that they had like a baseball game that we went to. And I remember telling my friend, I'm like, I like him.
So when did Andrew first ask you out? And
It wasn't like that.
yeah, and I know college is different too, right? Because everybody's on campus. It's not like dating in the real world, I guess,
No.
because college is so different, right?
Yes, it was not like that.
Well,
I'll let you take this one.
we had become friends and we just sort of started dating. And it happened actually my roommate and a close friend of Alex's ended up dating and getting married, and you're just in that sort of close circle of people, and you're enjoying college and doing so many things. And so we dated for, I guess, about a year in college, and then we stopped, and then we got back together towards the end of college.
Yeah.
And then we both ended up not planning to do it, but we both ended up in New York City for law school, and we ended up dating some of the time in law school, and then our career paths kind of took us in different directions, and we stayed in touch over the years, and we ended up. I left the East Coast to go to California to clerk for a judge after law school, and Alex ended up clerking too in Pennsylvania, where she's from, and we both ended up back. When I came back to the East Coast, we got back in touch with each other, and at that point, Alex went, "If we're doing this for real." So.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Okay.
So when you guys first dated in college and you broke up after about a year, why did you guys break up? Was it just because? Why did you guys break up?
So there's gonna be a pattern here. I had decided to go.
It's funny.
I had decided to go away for my junior year to London to study abroad, and I made that decision, and we weren't going to stay together from, across the much bigger pond.
Right.
The little pond, we could do it, but the big pond of the Atlantic, we weren't going to stay together.
And I wouldn't say that in college we were, it was like sophomore year and senior year. But we were friends all through college. And I would say that we had, a period of time in sophomore year, right? And more through senior year going into law school. But, yeah, I didn't have any other serious boyfriends besides Andrew, and same for him. Same. No, I swear.
I'm going to let her get away with that one for her.
Serious boy? No, I didn't, and he didn't either.
Yeah.
So it's weird because we've known each other since we were so young. I'm 43. I've known him since he was a kid, an 18-year kid. So he's a different. We think about that a lot. We laugh because. You can go back to those times and remember, and it's like a different person.
And you grew up together, basically.
We did.
You grew up together.
We did.
So when you both are done with college, and Andrew, you said that you both happened to go to the same law school. How did that happen? Did you guys really both happen to go to the same law school? Not that I don't believe you, but I'm saying, did you guys talk about?
No, we did not.
No.
And we didn't go to the same school.
Right.
We were
just
in
in
the same city. In the same city.
Same city.
Yeah.
No, it really just happened that way.
Yeah.
But it was New York, so there were a lot of people who, from the Boston area who ended up in New York after graduating. So it wasn't that surprising. But when we realized we were both going to be in New York together, then I think we stayed together after college.
Did you guys broke up again?
Yeah. Did you live together at all during this period?
Over a summer, the summer after college.
Of course, you'll deny that to the kids later, but by that time,
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Well, it's not living in sin when you have to live with a group of people so that you can afford something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. See, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, and not that we're judging anyway. I'm just saying.
Of course not.
We had because it was really funny because I've had couples on here before that have talked about that, and they're like, "Oh gosh." Of course, then they talk about the kids. So it's just kind of fun. But anyway.
There were like 6 other people living in the house too. So it was.
So there you go. So then you break up again, you said. All right. Because you were going to California.
Right.
And you were going to your home state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay. How was that heartbreaking, or what were you thinking, Alex, at this time?
So when we moved to New York and were in law school, we were together, and then I think we probably had like 2 breakups in law school. We had a lot of on and off going on,
But the moral of the story is we always came back together.
It is, but
it's so sweet.
Our final year in law school, when we broke up, then we had it was really hard, and we didn't talk for. Maybe, I think over a year, more than that. I don't know. So yeah, that was really hard.
So you didn't talk for a year. How did you guys get reconnected? What brought you guys back together? So you're in California at this time. You're in Pennsylvania, right?
We had seen each other at a friend's wedding. Actually, the friends I mentioned before.
Oh, they got married.
They got married, and so we ended up seeing each other. And then we sort of quickly lost touch again when I went back to California. And then Alex's father got sick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so I was traveling after my clerkship, and I'd heard that her father got sick, and she was extremely close with him. And so that was sort of the impetus for reaching out again. And we've been in touch ever since.
And that's when we... Yeah.
Wow. So is your dad still with us?
No.
I'm so sorry.
He died, thanks. No, he died like a month after we got married. So he was there for our wedding.
So
he was just waiting. He was waiting until we got married.
Oh my gosh. And so your dad was probably a huge fan of Andrew.
He was, yeah. During our last relationship, yes.
During your last relationship. Yes. So you're very close to your dad. He gets sick. And again, we're so sorry. And so you guys come together.
Yeah.
Through that. And that was it. Now, so Andrew, at this point then, how do you guys decide where to live? I mean, do you quit your job? I mean, what happens at this point?
So I was planning to come back to New York after I finished in California, and I had a job there. And so I came back to New York, and at the time, Alex was in Williamsport, Pennsylvania for her clerkship. And then she had plans to go back to the Philadelphia area where she's from to work. And we made it work long distance. I was in New York and she was in Philadelphia. And we were trying to figure out where we were going to be sort of, not even long term, but just, a month down the road or a few months down the road. And we decided that we wanted to be in DC together. So I was able to transfer from the law firm I was at to DC. And we moved to DC together. And that was in 2006, right before we got married.
Yeah.
So, okay, how did you propose?
How did I propose?
Yes.
I begged. Well, it doesn't even matter the planning that went into it because she knew. That's the problem.
Did?
Oh, she knew. I couldn't keep it a secret. I can't keep secrets. So we were in Florida on vacation, and we're on the beach.
Amelia Island.
Yeah.
Where? Amelia Island?
We're in Amelia Island. And we had just a weekend, the two of us. And we'd been dating back together for, I guess, about a year plus at that point. And I mean, we'd been talking about it a lot. And, we had like a nice dinner set up. And
it's funny because I remember that I knew because I could just tell how he was acting. And I could tell he was like nervous and planning. And I was just sitting kind of watching and being like, I need to remember this. Like, I need to just
so sweet.
Putting me through my
the discomfort, the nervousness was that, it's so funny. And then
so I ended up, I think I ended up coming up with a story like my mom wanted some pictures before we go to dinner. And so we walked outside on the beach and we were dressed up because we were going to go to dinner. And I got down on one knee and I begged and pleaded.
Did you cry?
I don't think so. I don't think I did, no.
No.
But
we're just happy she said yes.
You guys are too cute. But so you knew because he has always been and is such a great friend that you could read him.
I can read him.
That something was up.
Yes, 100%.
Now, okay, we're going to go to a break soon. So when do you guys think, though, that you knew that you wanted to get married? Like, was it like when you saw him, not across the pond, but next to the pond, did you think, this is the guy that I'm going to marry?
No, we were so young. I wasn't thinking about that at all. Not at all.
She didn't figure it out until the baseball game, like 2 weeks after.
Yeah. Because they say guys know. They say men know much more quickly than women.
It's amazing how somebody comes into your life and then you never realize how you sort of survived without them beforehand. And by the time I had made the decision, we had broken up because I was going to California, I had a feeling that we'd end up back together. And I didn't know how. And we had the conversation, and it's hard when you're breaking up to be like, don't worry, this will work out. And
that's true.
And that's not the sentiment, but again, we'd had this connection. We'd always found our way back to each other, and I figured we would someday again.
Did you say that to her when you broke up, though, and when you moved to California, that you had a feeling that you guys would find your way back to each other?
I don't think we said it when we broke up.
It wasn't when we broke up,
but we
saw each other.
We had seen each other because we were both in the city and we had mutual friends, and it was hard.
I was crying.
That's so romantic, though. Oh my gosh, it's serendipity, right? I mean, I know
you hear that? It was romantic.
I was like, I don't know about that.
That's a very nice spin on it. Thank you.
But the fact that you
And
felt
just like, I love it here.
the fact that you felt deep down inside that there was a huge connection, and somehow you would find your way back to each other.
I do. I am not I'm not a crier, and I'm not, I will say though that I think that there definitely is. I always felt a connection with him, like a chemical connection with him. I really did, and I still do, and it just is. And we have a really maybe unusual banter between us, and we kind of make fun of each other and all this stuff. But the basis of us, I think, is that.
Great friendship. Okay, we're going to go to a break because there's so much I want to talk about, because clearly he's the state attorney and, the face, a huge face here in Tampa. You're also a lawyer, Alex, and to balance the two careers and now kids. Yay! So we'll be right back.
I'm Sarina Fazan, and like most people, my skin is a priority. When you look good, you feel good. That's why I turned to South Tampa Dermatology, a full-service medical and cosmetic dermatology practice. Dr. Flynn and her dream team offer the products, services, and procedures I need to keep my skin healthy so I can perform at my very best. And they can do that for you too. It's affordable, and your confidence is priceless. Just head to stderm.com or call 813-872-9551 to make an appointment.
So welcome back, everyone, to this episode of Love in America. People who know me know that I'm so in love with love. And I have Andrew Warren here and his wife, Alex. Andrew Warren, of course, is the state attorney in Hillsborough County. And Alex is a lawyer also. So Alex, your husband, clearly very, very high profile job. Who knows where I know you love the state attorney's office, but we could see, I'm going to stop there. Don't say anything else. Who knows where he's going to be? You're doing great now where you are. But Alex, you're also an attorney, and I know that you're a mom. We're going to talk about the kids, but talk to me about following his career and putting, having to put his career first. Do you think a lot of wives make that sacrifice? And was it a sacrifice? It may not even been a sacrifice because you guys were living right in the DC area, and you were working for the DOJ, the Department of
Right. So I'll start by answering it because it was a sacrifice for Alex. When I started as a prosecutor, one, it's a financial sacrifice from having been in the private sector, but we were in good financial position because we were both attorneys, and it was a huge time sacrifice. It got to the point where when I was with the Justice Department, I was traveling almost every week, and for periods of time, I would be gone for 4-6 week stretches without coming home. And so I was on the road doing work, but that left Alex at home by herself, working full-time, later on as a mom, full-time, with me disappearing for week stretches because of my job.
How long were you guys married before you had kids?
When were the kids born? So our daughter was born in 2011. 2011. So almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. So at this point, you were in private practice, federal prosecutor, then, and you're traveling. You're working full time. How are you feeling at this time? And did you know that Andrew had political aspirations? Had you been talking about that?
I think that since the time I've known Andrew, that has been a possibility. And he's always been super passionate about his job and those kinds of things. So, it was, it was really hard when he had that job because of all the travel. It was really hard. And I got to the point where I was like, we can't keep doing this. I want you around.
Right. Like I miss my husband.
Yeah.
I miss my husband. So And I commend you for saying that. That must have been, but you guys are great friends too. Great friends, have a deep love for each other. So then you make the decision, right, to move here.
Right. So
to Florida.
I had a particularly bad travel year in 2012. And I had 3 long trials in Houston, all part of the same big case that we were prosecuting. And I was probably gone 150 nights that year. And I came back and it was November, December, and I got home. And I don't think I'd been home in probably a month. And I saw Alex, and we had, our daughter was 1.5 at the time. And her almost exact words to me were, "Congratulations, because we had won the last trial. Welcome home, and you're not doing this anymore."
Wow.
And it was really tough.
It was.
And we had talked about, I'd always wanted to move home to Florida one day, and we never saw ourselves in DC long term. And that was the right time for us to do it.
Yep.
And Alex, so Andrew, let me step back. So you are from here, from the state of Florida.
Right. I'm from Gainesville.
So
Go Gators. Born and raised.
Born and raised. You're from Pennsylvania. Alex, did you want to move to Florida?
Yeah, I wanted us to move to where we were going to be for the rest of our lives. And, we had, and I was fine with it being Florida. I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I think I said, we'll give it a chance in Florida, totally open to it. I just kind of looked at it like I want to start that part of our lives where we're just raising our kids and this is where we're going to be. I didn't want to feel transient anymore.
Yeah, no, I love what you said, that you wanted to be at a place where you could establish your roots and you knew that the kids would grow up here. He would be home.
Yeah.
He might have to travel here and there for work, but for the most part at home. So at this point now, are you working in your career? So you're still practicing law?
I am. And I actually still work for the same law firm. I just work remotely. So I've been with the same firm with maybe a year off after we had our second daughter. But yeah, I still work for them, and I've been there since 2006.
Do you want to give them a plug?
Cuneo, Gilbert, and LaDuca.
So, all right. So then talk to me. So you get, Andrew decides to run for state attorney. So now he's a public figure, or he's out there when he's campaigning, and all of a sudden, by default, you become a public figure too, right? You do, because you're the wife. Kind of.
I would actually say for the most part, I don't really feel that way. There have been maybe a few moments where I have, but in general, I really don't feel like that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Alex sees herself that way, and I don't think she should. And that's not the way we operate. My job is my job, and it's demanding and time consuming, and I'm excited about it. But Alex has her job, and she has a nonprofit on the side, and she has, she's a mom, and she does all these things. And so our lives in that respect are kind of separate.
Yeah. And what I meant by that is that, you're in the newspaper all the time. You're on television all the time, not even locally, nationally. You're on podcasts. You're doing all these interviews professionally. And it's, by default is not the right word, but
I know what you mean. To be honest, I'm like, oh, somebody wants to talk to me. Why? Like, what am I doing here? I get why there's an interest in Andrew, but seriously, that's kind of how I think about it. So it's, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I think it's harder during the campaign than it is sort of the rest of the time, because as the candidate, you get used to the criticism and knowing that it's a competitive nature to win that job. I think it's different for the spouse. I think it was hard for Alex to see people criticizing positions I'd taken, and even people who didn't know me at all, and just, there's this reflexive sort of divisiveness in our politics. And I think that's tough. And I know it'd be very difficult for me to watch people criticizing Alex for when everything she does is, for
the
her
good
family and for good. And I mean, just
Yeah.
How did you get through that? Because that was my question. Because you can't, when you run for any political office, you're going to take it. I mean, you can't help it, right? So how hard was that for you to get through?
It was hard. It was hard. It was super stressful, and it's really hard to see people. My reaction was, why are people being mean to him? I don't like this, and even, there was there were times where it was in person, and I felt like they were attacking him, and that's really hard. Really hard. I think I've gotten more used to it, and maybe have a little bit of a thicker skin about it. But it was really hard at first. I mean, we hadn't had this experience before, so.
Will you handle it with such class and grace?
You.
I mean, no, you do. So back to you guys.
I think he does too, because
Yeah,
I'm sitting there saying, "What's going? You need to do this." He's like, "Calm down."
So back to you. So back to you, Alex. Here's Andrew with this, high profile job, but you're an attorney, you have a nonprofit, and you're the mother of two little people, and a furry baby too.
Yeah, and a furry one.
So how do you balance it all, though? And tell us about your nonprofit as well.
So I started a nonprofit called Listening Matters because our younger daughter, Lucy, is deaf.
Oh.
So she has cochlear implants. So if you met her, and you didn't notice them, you wouldn't think anything. She speaks beautifully, and she's great. But, she does have this technology on her head, and, you do see that. So I wanted to allow her to have access to other kids that also have hearing loss. And also I wanted to have access to parents that have kids with hearing loss, because, like it or not, we're part of the same community where we need to be thinking about things that other people don't. So we have educational events, and we have social events so that, all the local families in Tampa Bay that want to participate can get together. And, it's nice. Lucy's 7 now. And this year was the first time, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to have the events that we had in the past. And she said, why haven't we done any Listening Matters activities? So it's cool to see when they reach an age and she sees someone, she says, oh, they have hearing aids like me, or they.
Right. So she can see that there are other people.
Yeah, because that's super scary as a parent to think about, a stage that I think is unavoidable when she's going to be aware of her differences. And I just wanted to have a way for all these kids to know they're not alone. There's other kids like you. And I think it's going to, especially as she gets older, I think it has the potential to really help these kids.
When did you start your nonprofit, Listening Matters, would you say? How old was Lucy at the time?
She was 2. I think it started in 2015, I think.
Yeah, she may have even been younger than that. And Alex is being modest about how she decided to form Listening Matters. When we learned that Lucy was deaf and she was a month old, it was, as a parent, it's a devastating diagnosis. And you worry about how is she going to deal in the world? What's going to happen as she grows up? I mean, there are just so many thoughts and fears that go through her mind. And candidly, I sort of fell into a shell of being really worried about her and what that meant for her. And Alex got to work. She started researching and started learning and came to realize that a lot of cities of Tampa's size have organizations that are there to provide sort of umbrella services for people when they get a diagnosis like this, to help you figure out the medical, to help you figure out who to talk to, from school planning to a community of support. Tampa didn't have anything like that. And we went through that process largely on our own. And because Alex was so dedicated to getting the best possible outcomes for Lucy, she figured that stuff out on her own. And then after she had the experience of doing that, she thought, there's a lot of information that I wish I had. So she formed an organization to share that with parents as they're going through this process from the beginning.
That is so commendable and amazing. Back to Lucy when she was a month old. was there any history? Like, how do you guys know how this happened? That she
No
was deaf?
history in our family.
Wow.
And that's actually, I don't know what the statistics are, but for most kids that are born deaf, there's no history in their families.
Isn't that something? And Andrew, as you said, we would take a bullet for our children. We would die for our children. So to learn that they're sick in any way or, have some type of disability, I hate calling it that, of course, we want to do everything that we can, but you did it. You did it. So how can we help? Like how can people in the community help your organization? We would love to help your organization. Is there anything we can do, or is there like a donating site?
There is. We have our website is www.listening-matters.org. And we've done some things like we did a big book donation to Hillsborough County Deaf and Hard of Hearing program to give them books about kids that have hearing loss. And I just think honestly, it's just raising awareness about that, and I'll tell you, yes, when we found that out, that was a really, 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 really awful situation. But Lucy does really well with her cochlear implants. So, we got to a point where we felt pretty good. I mean, she's doing great with all that. And we found out later has something called Usher syndrome. That's what caused her hearing loss. And that is something where the type she has, it also affects her balance. And in the future, it will affect her vision. So it was a really, I will say that we are such a team. That's how I feel in my life, because we've had so many moments, I think, where it felt life-shattering in the moment.
Yes.
Like that was, we got through the deaf diagnosis, and then we think she's doing great, and then we get another one that feels horrible. So I know that I could not have gotten through these things without Andrew. I mean, I just know that it's not some theoretical thing, I mean, I think we actually have been tested. And, we've had a lot of hard times, and I'm so grateful that I have him because, even with all those things, I wake up and having had bad things happen, I wake up and I am grateful for the good things. So grateful. I know we're lucky. And that is the one good thing that came out of the bad things. This total awareness of, the present, and when something is good, appreciating every second. And I wouldn't have gotten there without him. Super lucky to have that kind of relationship.
I want to ask one more question about Lucy, if that's okay, and then we'll bring it back to the two of you. With the Usher syndrome, do we know for sure her vision will be affected, and at what age do we know?
So it's so rare that we don't really know at what age, and there's a pretty big variation among people that have it. Early adolescence is the thought. So right now she doesn't have any of those symptoms.
In a sort of traditional worst case scenario, she may completely lose her vision by the time she's a teenager. And in sort of a best case scenario, she could be 40, 50 years old and only then start to lose her night vision and peripheral vision. There's such, as Alex said, a wide range of how the symptoms manifest depending on the person. So we do a lot of work with Usher syndrome research in the hope that there will be a cure for the blindness part before Lucy starts to lose her vision.
Well, I really believe in all that because my brothers, both my brothers are physicians, but both of them also have a very large research arm that they give back to the community. They get federal funding. So I am confident, and they always tell me there will be, as we advance with medicine, they're learning things
Absolutely.
every day. So, I mean, that's how they keep me going too.
Right.
So, but we are thinking about Lucy, and we'll get the links on there. So hopefully to
great.
raise more awareness and to get people to help. But let's talk about your other baby. because can you imagine? Well, what about me?
You mean Dudley?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding, Elliot.
Dudley's yes. And Elliot, what a cute, hi Elliot.
Hi, Elliot. Hi, Boo.
How old is Elliot?
Elliot is 9.
Oh,
And she's so cute. She takes such good care of her sister. Yesterday, they walk home from the bus stop, and I come outside and I see them walking up the street, and Elliot has her backpack on her back and then Lucy's backpack on her front because Lucy couldn't carry it anymore. So they're walking, and she's such a good big sister. It's so cute.
Sweet.
She's a sweetie.
And Elliot, remember, you're the one that made these two parents in the first place, right? Before that, they were, a couple. You made them a mom and dad. So, guys, as we close up the podcast, what is the best advice you would have for other couples out there? Alex, and I know you've already answered a lot of those questions, but really, your basis seems so much friendship. And of course, that chemical reaction you said, which is also very romantic.
I think that it's super important to have a sense of humor and realize that, neither one of us is perfect. Be forgiving. And I try to be really direct about certain things and, just
Very direct.
this is what I would like. This is what I need from our relationship. Just saying it and then,
No, I appreciate that. So you're telling women out there that they should express how they're feeling.
Otherwise, you risk sort of not having things happen the way you would like. So I don't know. I mean, we're different people. He's not going to be able to read my mind. So I make it easier. I tell him what's on my mind.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and we do, and I we do our best, and I know that we're both coming from a place of love and wanting each other to be happy. And I think that if you know that, then you can, I don't know.
It's really romantic. I mean, so many of the things you said and beyond romantic, I mean, the hope and how lasting relationships really do last. Andrew, what would your advice be to men out there?
Before we got married, I was given the advice that no matter what happens in our lives, professionally and as parents, we were a couple first. And that's the foundation of the healthy relationship. And I think Alex and I, through the ups and downs of life and through professional wins and losses and through personal tragedy and through all these things, we've always come back to the fact that that friendship that we had, and we make sure that we spend time together, away from our jobs, even away from our kids sometimes, just, a night here, a conversation here, where we can hang out similar to how we used to do it 25 years ago now, because that's the basis for everything that we have is that friendship that started when we were 18 years old.
That's so refreshing to hear from a man to continue to date your wife.
Yeah.
Right? That's very sweet. And I have to say,
I like flowers.
Being direct to you. Thank you so much for also sharing the story of Lucy and Elliot being such an amazing big sister as well, because I think stories like that not only raise awareness, but give hope, and show that couples like you, that a lot of people might think, wow, Andrew and Alex Warren, I want to be them. But you guys like so many people, we all have our challenges, and it's how we get through the challenges, and it's it's how we build from that. So I can't even thank you enough for being on my podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Alex, you're going to make the wall. I wish all the people could see. So this is fantastic, because I think Andrew was on, I don't know, like nearly a year ago or something, or, 8 months ago. And I said, I really want Alex.
Just don't put her picture next to Antonio Sabato Jr.
Okay.
She's always had a thing for him. So you got to put them on the opposite sides of the wall.
Okay, that I'll promise you. Okay. The reason why they're saying that is because there is a picture of Antonio Sabato Jr. here when I emceed
that the second I walked in.
Well, you guys are both adorable. And thank you so much for
Thank
joining us for this episode of Love in America. And that brings us to the end of another episode of On the Record. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Andrew and Alex Warren, for sharing your story. And thank you for joining us. You can follow me on all my social media platforms, and you can subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Until the next time, stay safe.